In this episode of the Ohio Lodge of Research's podcast, OLR Connections, the newly elected master, Worshipful Brother Mike Miller, finishes his conversation with Right Worshipful Brother Chad Kopenski. While the conversation may initially appear to be more about their families and their children, I promise you, it all does come back around to Masonic connections, Masonic stories, and interesting topics for the Ohio Lodge of Research.
Now, I do want to ask about this because
Mhm.
you have how many children? 112?
Three. So
And their ages?
my oldest Meredith is 11, and then I have twins that are 7, Zant and Charlotte. So boy-girl twins.
I have a twin sister. Just saying, I
Yeah.
feel your pain. What is it like? Strange question. Has Masonry made you a better husband and a better father, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I'm
How
definitely a little
so?
bit patient, for sure. I'm a little bit more organized, right? If I wasn't organized, I couldn't be involved in the things that I'm involved in.
No.
Um, I'm also have a very gracious wife who is all right with me being gone sometimes multiple nights a week. Um, it's helped that she's been able to be plugged in, on Blue Lodge. It didn't seem like there was as much opportunity for her to be engaged. The district level and Scottish Rite, some of those things where spouses have been allowed to attend dinners and family functions and things like that. They've definitely, provided more opportunities for things where the kids can come to. So they've been more engaged in those aspects. So I've got a lot of support there. Um, yeah, it can get chaotic though. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. Luckily, we got all 3 kids got engaged in wrestling this season, so a little bit less chaos, right? When everybody's going to the same place for practice
All
versus
3 of them? The 2 girls and the boy?
yeah. So girls wrestling right now is like the fastest growing sport.
Oh,
Like it's
yeah.
um, early '90s, late '80s, Title IX happened. They didn't think they could offer the same amount of scholarships to women. They didn't think the interest was there for women's wrestling. Um, you know, 30 years later, they decided, oh, hey, there is interest, and they started promoting it. And now a lot of schools are bringing back their men's program and additionally adding women's programs. So they're giving scholarships to some of these young ladies, not taking anything away from their skill set, but maybe a year or two of experience. They're getting full ride scholarships in some of these places. So
Seriously.
it's impressive. So my oldest, when she was 5, she wanted to be involved in wrestling, and I was like, well, if you're going to be involved in wrestling, I'll help coach. I'll reach out, and somehow that turned into me being the head youth coach at the time. And um,
Did
she
you
got out there.
wrestle?
She did. She was doing great. Yeah, I wrestled in high school,
Yeah.
and I coached a little bit out of high school, but I was probably removed for about 10 years at that point. So I was kind of shocked that I got thrown back into being the head youth coach, but that was a whole nother experience in itself. Well, luckily, I had a really good parent support from the athletes that I had. But my my daughter, she had her first match. She was doing really good, and she was whooping up on this young boy who was from a pretty decent program. And because she was only 5, she wasn't able to process that everybody was yelling for her. They thought that
Yeah.
she thought they
Oh,
were yelling at her, and so anxiety kind of kicked in. I don't want to wrestle. I don't want to go do tournaments. I'm like, well, you kind of got me roped into being the head coach, so you got to come to all the practices, and you don't have to go to the tournaments, but you're definitely coming to all the practices. And then so she kind of took a hiatus, and we haven't done wrestling in almost probably 5 years. And then my son comes home with a flyer and says, "Hey, Dad, I want to wrestle." And I'm like, okay, you can wrestle, but I'm going to tell you up front, I am not coaching. And
hmm
then, of course, then I find myself in the wrestling room helping out. Um, and then probably like the last week or so of folk style, which is what they typically do in the winter. It's high school and college. Um, we were at a Prodigy as a local like club, and they do Friday
Okay.
night fights, so they get some meets in that way or some matches in that way. And Don Jones, who runs that, he looks over at my daughter Meredith and says, hey, you want to wrestle tonight? And she just kind of like, whoa. And I'm like, hey, it's up to you. If you want to do it, like, it's all fun. Like, you've done no conditionings, no practices. I do not expect you to win, but I expect you to, if you go do it, to go have fun. And she went out, had fun, and then we just finished up spring wrestling, which is freestyle and Greco, the two Olympic styles. USA Wrestling's pushing all that stuff and trying to help us be more competitive on the Olympic stage and the world stage. So they're really building up the youth with their tournaments right now. So, and then towards the end of that, my other daughter decided that she wanted to wrestle too. So once they start renewing their USA Wrestling cards, she'll be official, but we'll have all three of them wrestling on the mats, hopefully come in the fall.
That's awesome. There's girls wrestling at my daughter's school, and
Yeah.
there's like 5 or 6 young women there, and they're doing great. Like it's great for them. So
Well, it's such a good. I used a lot of the wrestling stuff that I learned in high school when I was working in the jail and policing. It's a lot of control with some discomfort, but not injuring anybody. So, I mean, it was very applicable to being able to protect myself. Um, and so, why would you not want your daughter or son, for that matter, to, if they ever are in a situation where they need to protect themselves, that they can?
I um I wrestled in 7th and 8th grade, and I was terrible at it. Just I wasn't the best at it. I started martial arts right around ninth grade, and that made sense to me. But um, you know, one of the wonderful things, you're right, it's a physical thing, it's a protection thing, it's a confidence, self-defense thing. I also think that one of the great things about high school sports or high school theater or high school band or all those things is like um high school kids just want to be seen, they want to be heard, right? They want to find their voice, and they want to be good on a good team, right? Like that's in theater, we always talk about there's nothing better about than being good in a good show. That if the show is really good and you were good in a good show, that's sort of a point of pride. That's one of those things that wakes you up at 2 o'clock in the morning years later, and you just smile about like, yeah, you know what? I was good in a good show. Or in sports, right? We had a good team, and I
Mm-hmm.
was good on a good team. And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, I completely agree. And then at that age too, right? You're trying to find a sense of where you fit in and where you belong and some structure, and whatnot. So I agree. I mean, all those are good things. Well, like you said, whether it's, in the performing arts or sports. I mean, I did show choir and stuff too. So
Me too.
I they put the short guy who can't dance in the front. I can't make sense of that, but
You were there. You
I
know,
will.
I I think there's also an element of that in masonry, as silly as it sounds. Like just hearing you talk about your own lodge, about yeah, we were good at ritual. Like this is there's that there's that sense of pride of I'm what I do is worthwhile as part of something that is even more so worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're all in masonry, right? We're a part of something that's bigger than ourselves as individuals. And I
Um,
think it's pretty cool. Especially if you get out and travel, right? And you get out and travel, like I said, you go somewhere that you're completely out of your element, out of your district, out of your state, and you go somewhere and you meet another brother, and to be treated as if that was your home lodge, that's cool. That doesn't happen in places of employment typically, or any other organization, right? It's usually, who's that guy? What's he? It's just different with masonry. I can't explain it. It's something you have to experience.
what have been some of your better experiences with that?
Um, well, it was
You
a lot of
mentioned
it was
Florida already.
a lot of it was traveling. When I was doing the Schofield stuff, going from one place and meeting one brother and going from one place to another and get invited. We had there was a group of guys who kind of met, and we were at what we called the Dead Architect Society.
Okay.
It basically kind of like a book club.
All right.
Met some guys at that, and that led me to Kentucky. Um, Went to a couple different lodges down there, Good Faith Lodge, and then it also led me to William Ware. And then I think I was trying to hurry up and cram some of my foreign travels in um, before I got when I was told the deadline was in September. So I ended up over near Petoskey Lodge, met Steve Lowe,
Yeah.
and man, what a great brother. I mean, I didn't know anybody over there. I think I
He's a
woke
good
up at
guy.
like 4 in the morning to make it to this outdoor degree that's on the side of a, I'd say hill or mountain. I didn't realize how hilly it was over there until I got over there. That was a fun experience. Yeah, that's part of the Appalachians, right?
They're close by. They are. Oh, Steve just came and visited a little bit ago. Um, I think it's the next district over. But
Okay.
yeah,
But to
yes.
go over there and meet him, not know anybody, got introduced to everybody, got to even take part in the Master Mason degree, which I totally wasn't expecting that. But to be a part of the craft team, to be there to help raise a brother is always such a blessing. That's such a cool experience anytime you get to partake. But then from there, he's like, "Oh yeah, outdoor degrees don't really happen that often. They're pretty sporadic, and there's only a few that do it consistently." And that led me back to the other side of the state. Um, I'm trying to think of where I was at because it's been a few years now. But I want to say New Paris, but I don't think that's right. New Paris is fellowship. That's our district. It was just north of them, but I was up there for another outdoor degree, and it was kind of the same experience as far as, um, at that time the only person I knew was Steve, and it's kind of neat how when you go from place to place and you meet different people. I think I met Keith Fields up there, and then ironically enough, then we go to Grand Lodge at Marietta, and then hey, that's who's sitting at my table for the one of the dinners. So it's just kind of neat.
Well, I mean, first off, there are a number of outdoor degrees. A guy named Jordan Pickens does one this or next door, usually on his property. Oh, I just forgot their name. Proctorville used to do. They used to do a side degree called the Wild Boar degree that sometimes they did an outdoor one. Um, my lodge is doing one in June. Like there's something neat about that experience. So
Well, so we've got one in the second district coming up on June 14th. Um, but it kind of bounces around the district. So, to have a location that does them consistently, that'd be kind of a cool uh, thing to get a compiled list of if it's even a doable thing. You know how you have like the Moonlight Lodges if you get the certificate if you go, and it'd be kind of cool to have an outdoor one to encourage some traveling. Just an idea. Random things that pop in. Right. Work, but
no, like I
it'd be kind of cool.
that would be interesting. We should do that.
You could totally
Um,
do a wooden Masonic nickel or something that you pick up for going, and it's something cheap.
Sonic lawn chair or the inflatable
Yeah,
cushion.
right.
Talking about guys that you meet in weird ways. Steve Hessler, the current education
Yeah.
chair. I met him at Special Olympics when we were still going to Columbus and doing that.
Uh huh.
And I don't even know how our paths crossed, other than he was a young dude. I'm like, oh, hey, you're in this crowd and you're not 80. Hi, I'm Chad. And, um, he's a teacher. He was a musician. I used to teach. Was a musician, and um, I would just keep seeing him at Grand Lodge and Special Olympics, and then we started talking, and we both, had very mutual interests, and um, yeah, and I just our paths just kept crossing, and yeah, I love the guy. He's a great, you know, he's a great guy, phenomenal resource, and yeah, our paths just keep crossing, and it's those random guys you meet that all of a sudden become really important to you. So,
Yes, I agree. As I'm sitting here with you,
yeah, I don't
right?
count. I don't count.
You
I don't remember
absolutely.
how did we meet? It had to been through Schofield Society somehow.
It might have been a little bit of that. Um, I know you randomly. I can't remember if we were messaging through Messenger through Facebook. Um, it was really kind of bad timing because you and I kind of got into a conversation, and then I didn't hear from you for like maybe I don't know, maybe a month or two. But
Probably.
but what had happened, um, and the reason I remember it was because a lot of us knew Chad Simpson, and I think when we started our conversation was I think when you got the news of his passing. If that timing I think adds up right. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm sorry that's how we met, but I'm glad we met.
that's all right.
But
Things
uh,
happen for a reason, that's for sure.
oh, absolutely, it's a whole other story. Let me ask you about the beehive, because let me ask you about uh, your masterpiece, because I don't. Yours is one of the ones I thought was really. Yours is one of the first ones of its kind, I think, of the masterpieces.
Sure.
Um, so talk to me about what that was all about.
So I was just basically trying to find something that was of my interest. Um, I've always been more of a doer, and so the beehive kind of fit. Um, but to do it as a research, I was like, okay, well, why did they choose the beehive, right? Other than the obvious, you know, anybody can sit and look at a beehive and see that there's, insects coming in and out, and they're busy, right? And so trying to go down the rabbit hole of, well, how else has this been used in history, and where else can it be found? And then throwing in that personal connection, my personal connection outside of being a doer. Um, it was a little cheesy, I'll be honest. It was um my zodiac is a Cancer, and inside the Cancer there is a beehive cluster
Hmm.
inside the Cancer zodiac. So that was my personal connection. But as I was coming up through the line too, um, I think we talked a little bit earlier about how some of the mergers and stuff happened where lodges folded back into Jefferson Lodge, and every once in a while you would still hear well, this is Jefferson tradition, or that's a Lincoln tradition, or a Verity tradition, or whatever. And is what sometimes people don't realize is that the new guy coming in, all the things that made those individual lodges unique is what currently makes Jefferson unique. And although we have our Jefferson pin, and it's a nice pin, and all of our Masons get it that belong, um, I decided to come up with something different that had three bees on it coming, in the one hive to kind of symbolize where we were now. Um,
I'm looking because I know you gave me one and it's on my wall here somewhere.
I may
Trying
not
to
have
find.
because I only have the one. They only, or oddly enough, give that out to members only. Yeah, so I made like a wooden like cutout sign, and it hangs outside of the lodge room. But I mean, it's not been adopted other than what I put on my own stuff. Um, you know, which was never the intention. The intention wasn't to change anything, but just to give another option or another symbol of where we are now.
Well, and it's nice when those lodges come together that to have something that respects the past, but also recognizes that it's
Yes.
um, that there are masonry all across the country is just riddled with stories of when lodges merge, the surviving lodge is like, okay, I don't want to hear anything about this Paramuthia stuff. You're Philidorian now, and so you're we don't want any of that. Remember, you need us more than we need you and it's
The wrong approach.
yeah.
Um, that doesn't help anybody feel necessarily welcome. But there is some validity to that though too, right? Because if you got guys who merge and they're still identifying with a lodge that is not existent anymore, then they're also not giving themselves to it creates separation if they're still saying, hey, I'm a past master of this. So where you draw that line, I don't know. That's the one of the conversations need to happen about when there's mergers, I think, right? And there's a way to approach it. You can't approach it with a this is how it's going to be. You're under my thumb now, and you're going to do as I say. That's definitely the wrong approach.
There's so much. There's a lot of anecdotal information about that, and many of us have gone and visited a lodge where it's like you're sitting in Sunset Lodge, but man, all the guys from Philodorian are sitting over there. All the guys in Paramuthia are sitting over there, and all the Trimble guys are sitting there. But all the people that they've raised who didn't know any better, all the Sunset guys are sitting there. So what the hell, you know?
And that's 100% applicable to appendant bodies and everything else, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole, right? Because that happens too. Yeah, I mean, you get guys from, say, I'll throw out, widows' sons might sit at a table, Shrine Club at a table, people who are part of York Right bodies, they sit at that table. It happens. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but there's a way to approach it though too, right? If a guy, and this is where I kind of tie back into, if there's a guy who's coming into Masonry who, say, and I'll make it an easy one, has an interest in motorcycles and they're looking for fellowship. Well, when you come in and you introduce some people, you're probably going to sit them down at that table of guys who ride bikes or are part of the Widow's Sons or something.
Right.
So then that way that new member is getting out of Masonry the initial thing that he sought. Now, chances are most of those guys have been around enough to where they're plugged into maybe Blue Lodge, whether they're an officer or, they help out with some committee or whatever. That new guy coming in, he's going to become more well-rounded by starting off with the guys that he has a common interest with, and he's going to get out of Masonry what he wants. And hopefully that's what keeps him coming back.
Right.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just, how do you approach it sometimes, right?
Yeah, and there's probably also a time and place, every district is different. Like
It is.
at ours, in my neck of the woods, I don't see guys going like, oh, those are all the Widow's Sons. Those are all the Sojourners. Those are all the York Rite guys, because they're all kind of blended, But yeah, there are people you are friends with, to be honest. I mean, normally at these functions, you'll see a ton of the Schofield guys or the OLR guys are all kind of over there. Just,
yeah,
and we need to break that up too. But yeah, when it comes to lodges, sometimes they work merging. I have seen lodges where it is a nice conversation and they try to honor the past but also create a future, and so they all agree like, oh, we're going to charter a new lodge and we're all going to become now this, and there's a discussion of incorporating this tradition or this tradition. I mean, it's like a marriage. It's like blending a family. Like, oh, we're having Christmas. Okay. Oh, in your family, you do presents Christmas Eve. We do them Christmas morning. Okay. Like what's the most important to us? And, anyway.
I like it. That would be cool to be a part of that or witness that, just to see that constructive communication happening and to see people pulling away from it and knowing that you're not going to make maybe everybody happy, but you're going to have a happy compromise. That would be cool. That doesn't happen enough.
I was working with a lodge that was looking to close. They found a lodge that they were going to work with, and I was able to work with that lodge as well. And it didn't take much pushing, but like the lodge that was going to be receiving, those brethren there were a couple of those guys who were kind of putting up the tribal lines of like, they got to know that, and the rest of them like, nah, hold on, these are our brothers, like, and they themselves kind of saw it as this is a family, like we've got to. These are our, family that lost stuff in a fire. Okay, so how are we going to make them feel welcome? What are we going to? And it was interesting to watch, and it was fun to watch those conversations start. Weirdly, the lodge that was looking to close, it's the old stereotypical story. All of a sudden, the night that they voted to close, 20 new cars in the parking lot of people that we didn't, nobody had ever seen before. And they come in and they vote to keep the lodge open. But um, that lodge in particular, they they're doing really well now. They're I still go visit them from time to time, and it just they figured some things out. But it was really, you're right. It was nice to kind of see that blending of groups of kind of getting to what masonry is supposed to be about. Celebrating each other's, I hate to say diversity, but just celebrating what makes each lodge important. So,
I agree. That's pretty cool.
are your kids involved in any of the Malay, Rainbow Bros, anything like that?
So Meredith did the pledge group for Rainbow. Um, was very much I don't want to wear a dress,
Huh.
um, which is fine. We did it for a little while. It just wasn't her thing. So try not to force it. If she wants to go back to it later on down the road, that's always an option. My youngest decided that she wanted to do Girl Scouts, and so we just got elevated to brownies. So we're brownies now. So there's always a plethora of Girl Scout cookies in the house now. So
Yeah, those are dangerous things.
yes, they are. So and then my son's not quite old enough to do anything. We don't have. Um, I want to say Prince Hall offers Pythagoreans, I think is what it is, for D Malay, like a pledge group for D Malay. But I don't believe that we have anything like that in the area, and I don't know that he would necessarily be interested. He's definitely entwined with the wrestling right now. So again, it's one of those things. Once they ask, then hey, I know the right people and we'll get them plugged in, but just not really on their radar right now, unfortunately.
And your wife hasn't been like dying to come to lodge? Has she been curious about masonry?
We
People,
had a bearded mason degree that we went to the other day, and they had a
I've
ladies'
never
program.
heard of that one, by the way. I don't even know what a bearded mason degree is.
So basically, it was a master mason degree where everyone in attendance either had a beard or a fake beard. Didn't
All right.
realize that Grandmaster was coming down, so Bill and Zoe were there, and um, Emily and her hit it off and had some good conversation. So Emily wasn't left there by herself because I didn't know what to expect myself. Um, Seeing the Grandmaster with a full beard was pretty cool though too. Other than the fake beard getting in his mouth every time he talked, I'm sure he didn't enjoy that part too much, but um, it was pretty cool though. Again, like I said, it's always special to be a part of someone's raising or be there and witness it. It was really cool.
Yeah. And there's been a kind of an explosion of those sort of side degrees. I guess, I mean, maybe they've always been there, but um, that water buffalo degree that it seems like
Yeah,
everybody's doing.
that's a fun one. Have you done that one yet?
No, um,
It's a fun one.
yeah, and I mean,
And the nice thing is with those side degrees, the spouses can be engaged in those too.
yeah.
And, I know she's definitely the water buffalo. I don't know if she's a turtle or a yellow dog, but
Are you a
we,
turtle?
you bet your sweet ass I am.
I was surprised about women being turtles, which was, I was sitting around with a bunch of my friends, and I kind of joked about, being a turtle, and I said like, "Are you a turtle?" Not in context. And the woman next to me said, "You bet your sweet ass I am." Like, what? grabbed her, like ran off, like, hold on a second. She's like, yeah, totally. Like, and sorry, we had a great old conversation about it, and it was
We
nice.
we had a lot of fun with that up at Sandusky the last time. So we hosted a bungalow, hospitality room, and worshipful brother Hire from down this way. He
I was
was
supposed to
putting on the
ask.
turtle degree for anyone in attendance that was of age.
This is a good place to stop.
Sounds good.
What? Uh, so I'll just say this. I think, Mike. You know my respect and affection for you. You really are. I think you are a voice that needs to be heard, and I'm glad that you're kind of. I'm glad you're starting to see yourself the way that a lot of the rest of us see you. And you being the next master of the Lodge of Research, I know you're going to put a boatload of pressure on yourself, but don't be. The We stand on the shoulders of giants. What was happening at the Lodge of Research, that other guys kind of take it in a particular direction. Now we just have to kind of add a little bit of our own energy and keep it going. And you've got some good guys around you that'll help you. Just set the vision, set the pick, and the rest of us will go. So
Well, I absolutely appreciate that. It is definitely a humbling experience, and I appreciate those of you who came before me. You guys have set those cornerstones, and you guys have led by example, and I absolutely appreciate that example.
so